May I come in, sir?
Yes, please do.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Please take your seat.
Thank you, sir.
You're Mr. Prasanna.
Yes, sir.
Prasanna Lodh.
Yes, sir.
Prasanna, tell us something about you.
Sir, my name is Prasanna Rameshwar Singh Lodh. I am from Bid district, Marathwada region of Maharashtra. I have done my education from Bid and my graduation in MBBS from Grand Government Medical College and JJ Hospital, Mumbai. Sir, I am married and I am passionate about cooking.
Cooking.
Yes.
Okay. Prasanna, I can see you just mentioned you're married, you are a practicing doctor.
Yes.
You're currently working?
No, sir. Since 3 years, I have resigned from my job.
Okay. And then who's looking after your family?
Sir, I worked for 18 months and I had my savings to support myself. And my wife is also a doctor, so she is taking care of herself. And I am being supported to some extent by my family from my parents.
Okay, your wife is not supporting you.
Sir, she is supporting in every possible way that she could. So definitely, sir, she is also.
So, Prasanna, you're basically from Maharashtra and you're a practicing doctor. Tell me, if you look at the specific health problems of Maharashtra, especially concerning women, can you specify 3 problems in reducing order of significance which you believe are currently affecting Maharashtra? Women health.
Women health. Sir, though Maharashtra is doing very well on maternal mortality front, but the prevalence rate is having interregional disparity, where the tribal pockets is having high mortality rate. For example, the tribal pocket of Melghat or the Jawahar of Nandurbar and Thane or Palghar. Sir, this interregional disparity we need to address, followed by the malnutrition level, again found in the socio-economically poorer sections, especially, sir, in the rural areas where women are facing the double burden of supporting their families on domestic as well as the agricultural front. So they are highly neglected. Sir, my district was infamously in news for highest number of hysterectomy cases, because we are the largest exporter of manual labor to the Western Maharashtra sugar belt. So the hysterectomy was found even in the reproductive age group of female women, just to save the 5 working days of their monthly pay. So these are the issues in Maharashtra that I have seen.
Prasanna, you took anthropology as your optional paper. Tell me, what is your take on evolution of education of language? Do you believe that the mystery of how language actually, got into being? Does anthropology have some answer to it?
Sir, it was always a quest for a human mind, that how the languages were established, why there is so much diversity in language as we see today. Even in one language has so many dialects for few kilometers. Sir, anthropology has some theories about the origin of the language. Various theories has been put forward, but no one theory has been established by the empirical data. Sir, the very fact that human nature is man is a social animal, and we need to it's very unique feature in the animal kingdom. Though the other animal species have some kind of non-verbal communication, but the established formal written script and highly sophisticated communication is very unique to human beings. So definitely it's a gift of evolution, but this was a very slow process, and we don't have the written records of the previous history. So it's very difficult to find the exact origin points of the language in our human cradle.
There's one interesting theory which suggests that this language for human species to have language, this big brain was required, and this big brain actually came into existence because there was some compromise to be made in pelvic region, and that led to a rise of patriarchy, in a sense that women were forced to. So can we say that we have language because women bore the cost of it?
Sir, this is a theory which deals about the medical aspect of the creation of language. To compensate the bipedal locomotion, the pelvic brim was shortened so that the infant and mother was dependent. It is very unique for human in animal kingdom. So to support the lactating mother and the feet or the child infant, the male member took the responsibility. Sir, this is also to do with something in our brain which is very unique, highly developed Broca's area and Wernicke's area, which is a motor speech area, and the articulation area for speech, which is not found in the higher vertebrates of other kingdom.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You mentioned, Prasanna, about cooking.
Yes, ma'am.
That is your passion. And you also have anthropology as a subject. So, can I ask you about anthropology of food? There's a very long standing tradition. So, can you enlighten us about that?
Ma'am, one of the very driving and compelling force was the food that made us a civilization, a human form, because the hunter-gatherers were the division of work of hunting and gathering, controlling the kitchen, distribution of the resources. This has led to the division of the work in our in our primitive societies. So the food, what we ate, the food, how we cooked, the leader who used to divide the food in the members of the primitive tribe, this all led to somewhat organizational structure. The community dinner led us to the feeling of we being a social animal, and thus our society evolved. So food definitely had a very huge anthropological significance.
Food is what? Material or cultural?
Ma'am, by going by the definition, it's an edible, simplified version that is consumable, but it is highly influenced by one's culture, one's personal tastes, the availability of the raw material. This is.
Have you heard of a book called The Raw and the Cooked?
No, ma'am. Sorry, I am.
Claude Lévi-Strauss.
Yeah.
He's the author of the book.
Yeah.
Have you heard about him? What is his take on anthropology of food?
Ma'am, I don't know his.
Okay. Okay. Let me change track. You come from Maratha and Central Marathwada. Do you know the history of Shivaji?
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to ask you, what was the position of Bombay during Shivaji's time?
Ma'am, the port of the then Bombay, today's Mumbai, was under the influence of Portuguese. But the more important center was the Vasai, which is now a suburb of Mumbai. The Vasai was the nerve center as far as the Maratha Confederacy or the Maratha Kingdom was concerned about. And Mumbai was of lesser importance because it was under the control of the Portuguese. So, ma'am.
And what happened to, when did Shivaji come to Mumbai?
Ma'am, the exact year I don't know.
Okay. You took two names here, Maratha Confederacy and Maratha Kingdom. Is there a difference between them?
Sorry, ma'am, exact difference I am not able to tell, but the confederacies were working under the Maratha Kingdom. These were the confederacies.
Mumbai developed not so much under the Portuguese but under the British. But how did the British get it? Did they fight a war with the Portuguese?
No, ma'am. I have visited to the Gateway of India, monument in Mumbai. There it was written that was for the welcome of the Prince Charles, if I remember, and it was given as a dowry to the British prince by the Portuguese.
Did that British prince come to Bombay?
It was erected for the welcome, but I don't know whether he came.
The Gateway of India is constructed almost 2 centuries later than it was given in dowry. Okay.
You are a medical science student.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me difference between shock and syncope?
Ma'am, syncope and shock, though, can be seen as the same manifestation but has different etiologies. The shock can be anything from mild to the severest of the version. For example, the neural shock or the cerebral shock are the extreme versions, whereas the fear shock or the anxiety shock is the mild version. And syncope is something has to do more with the physiology. The syncope can be out of a phobia, or even as simple as a process of micturition, the micturational syncope we tell. To some patients, so both involves fading away or losing of consciousness, but syncope has semi-conscious level retained, whereas shock, there is no guarantee.
Can you give me the types of shock? 5 major types of shock.
Cardiac shock, neurogenic shock, psychological shock, allergic, anaphylactic shock, and fifth, hypovolemic shock.
Okay. Recently, there was a news about colistin-resistant bacteria. Why has it come into news, and what's there to be fearful about from now onwards?
Ma'am, this is something to do with the antimicrobial resistance, or specifically antibacterial resistance. The colistin is the last line of drug which can save us from the hardline bacteria, but this has been abused by the poultry industry so as to fasten the growth of the poultry.
So now, since we do not have anything beyond colistin when we talk about the antibiotics, are we standing at a pre-antibiotic era, even as we speak?
Ma'am, indeed it is a real threat. The whole world health community is concerned about it. But as I am a very optimistic healthcare professional, there will come a way. Just like the Alexander Fleming discovered the first antibiotic.
But our rate of abuse is more than the invention.
So we have to modulate in sustainability. The proper adequate use of antibiotics is the need of time. So that's why.
Can you give me some of the steps taken by government to ensure there is no misuse of antibiotics in India, specifically Indian government?
First of all, ma'am,
Just give me the names or whatever.
The Red Dash Line initiative, where
Red Line campaign.
Red Line initiative by the government, where the prescription drugs, the red dash is mandatory over the coating of the medicine. Another, the ICMR guidelines to the pharmacist. Third, madam, the categorization of the higher antibiotic drug into the H1 category, which mandates to keep the record for at least 18 months even after it's sold. So these are the signs.
Okay. Recently there was news about solatium clause in clinical trials. Can you tell me something about it? What's solatium clause exactly here?
Solatium clause. Sorry, ma'am, I have to read on that.
Okay. My last question to you. We talk about little tradition and big tradition in anthropology. Can you tell me about these traditions in India?
Yes, ma'am. The little tradition and the greater tradition are interconnected through the ways of universalization and parochialization. In the case study where the Sulano was a little tradition, in a greater tradition it is reflected as Raksha Bandhan, or the Govardhan Puja of a greater tradition in the Mathura region is seen as the Govardhan Puja. The Kaundang mountain is being worshipped by the local community. So this is how it is both way connected.
So is it like the dominant community's culture is called as big tradition or greater tradition, and the non-dominant communities are called little tradition? Isn't like belittling their culture?
Ma'am, those are the terminologies, but it is not on the scale of big or small. It is there just by it. It may be, I don't have the knowledge, but it may have to do with the participants that are participating in that tradition.
Okay. Thank you.
Prasanna, you are from Mumbai, Maharashtra. You are from Maharashtra, no?